Hey, welcome back everyone. This is Brenda, and today we are going to be working on the March prompt collaged animal for the Scrappy 8 challenge. So I had already hand drawn my animal onto my journal page that I was going to use, but then realized that if I collage directly onto the page, one, it would be harder, and two, I may mess up and can't fix it. So I am now tracing over the drawing because I'm going to print it out on a separate piece of paper and then collage on the separate piece of paper instead, and then add it to the journal. So that made more sense to me. So right now you just see me redrawing my animal. There he is. And of course, it's a raccoon or a trash panda. So I made some copies of him and I cut out what I'm going to call the first layer. And I'm going to cover it up with the lighter scraps that I have. So I'm just using a glue stick and taking my lighter pieces of gel print scraps and tearing them up into bits and just gluing them down. That right there was a piece of tape that I had around the border of another painting I was doing, which is pretty cool. I may have to show you that later on another video. But I saved all the tape that was bordering my painting. Originally, I was going to use trash for him, like as his collage. But then I decided, well, I'm just going to use up my gel print scraps because, we are the Scrappy 8 and I need to get rid of some of these scraps that I have. Uh, so instead of making new scraps out of trash, I decided to just use my gel print scraps instead. Alright, so then now I am cutting away the edges and getting back to the shape of my raccoon. And now I'm going to cut out the second layer, which is going to be the dark areas around his eyes. So here I'm just going to cut out the next parts that I'm going to collage. The second layer also includes the dark parts inside his ears and his nose. But on camera, I'm just going to show you one part of the eyes just so you get the gist of it. And then now I'm just looking for darker scraps. And I go with the last two because the first one was a little bit too light, so it would have blended in too much with the first layer. And then now I'm just going to tear up the darker layers, or the darker scraps, and just put them on. And do the same routine like I did with the first. This is only my second attempt at doing a collaged animal per se. The first one I did was my dog Hansi, and I did the same method. I just did it in layers, although his I didn't print on the printer because he was a larger piece. His I did with just tracing the picture and then cutting the tracing paper into the pieces that I was going to do. And now I'm making sure I put the piece where it needs to be before I glue it down. I don't want to just guess. So I'm using my original tracing of the raccoon and then just gluing down the second layer. And then here I have all the layers down. And now I'm using my acrylic paint pen to do the eyes and some of the details. And I always have a hard time. I'll do the right eye and it comes out perfect. And then when I go do the left eye, I can never get it to come out as good as the right eye. I don't know if any of you guys have that same issue, but even when I paint my pets, like you see, sometimes I'll paint people's pets. I have the same problem doing those. The right eye always comes out perfect, and then the left eye, I struggle. And I'm talking about the eye on my right, not his right. And you can't really see it on here because I'm kind of far away, but yeah, I struggled with this left eye a little bit. And now I'm just outlining parts of it just to make it stand out a little bit better. So here he is on the page itself where I'm going to put him, and I just wanted to see what it would look like. And then I'm just finishing up some details, like darkening in his eyes, and then going to add the highlights to them also, to his eyes and to his nose. And here I'm seeing how I'm going to cut them, but I don't really want to cut down the middle of his face. And then here I'm also realized I needed to put his little stripe going up his nose, but I don't want to cut down the middle of his face, so I'm going to end up turning him sideways on the page, and then doing it that way, just cutting off the top of his head. And then gluing him on. Yeah, I can't put him in and then fold it because of the layers, it's just too thick. And because of the way this little book is, it's just too hard also. But this works. Now I'm just gluing down all the loose pieces that are sticking up and going around and feeling making sure nothing's going to peel up. And just cutting off the edges, overlapping. And looking at it, I needed it to pop off a little bit more. So now I'm using a Stabilo pencil and kind of adding like some shading around him now. You could also use like a watercolor pencil for this too, or watered down acrylics. All right, I think that's good. I was thinking of adding splatter, but I don't think I will. I think I'm just going to leave him like that. Thanks for joining me for the Scrappy 8 challenge, month of March. Our prompt is collaged animal, and I hope to see what you guys do pretty soon, but take your time, you have all month. I hope you enjoyed my process video. Please leave any feedback or questions, comments below. And once again, see you next time. Tschüss.